Welcome to the latest installment of the Future Food Finance podcast series. Today we're joined by Will McDowell, founder and CEO of fresh food delivery company Tastily. Welcome. Welcome to the podcast, Will. I thought we could just start off with, if you could just provide us with an overview of what Tastily does.
Yeah, definitely. So Tastily is a pre-made meal subscription service. So we make fresh, ready-to-eat or ready-to-heat meals. So they're pre-made, heat up in 3 minutes in the microwave, and they stay fresh in your fridge for 7 days. The food itself is, obviously, we're called Tastily, so it's designed to be tasty and delicious, but also healthy. So it's portion controlled, 500 calories for the regular sizes, 750 calories for the large, and a wide range of different meals. So it's a way of making sure people can sort of build healthy food habits.
Yeah, excellent. And how did you get to where you are today, both on a corporate level and as well as a personal level? What's been your journey?
Yeah, my background isn't in the food space. I worked as a recruiter for my sins for 5 years, and I worked in the UK and then moved to New York to set up a recruitment office over there. So my background's been into the corporate area. I've always loved food. I've always eaten a lot of food, and I've always had struggles with my weight due to food. And that was kind of highlighted when I moved to New York, because there's just ample amount of unhealthy options that I just couldn't avoid. So in my first year in New York, I put on a lot of weight. I got really, really unhealthy. It just wasn't in a very good place. So personally, I mean, business-wise and financially, I was doing sort of the best I'd done, because you can make a lot of money in New York. But actually, for my personal sanity, I wasn't in a great place. So I wanted to make a change and discovered a company over in the US called Freshly. I'm not sure if you've heard of them or come across them. There's a slightly similarity to the names, which we'll probably come on to later. But yeah, started using them as a service, and I lost about 30 kilos in 9 months. So they're a pre-made meal delivery service. And I became obsessed with the industry and with realizing that you don't have to turn to takeaways and delivery apps to get convenient food. You can actually have healthy, great tasting, convenient options ready in your fridge that just take away the problems of ordering unhealthy food. So yeah, I had a big life transformation there and decided I wanted to move back to the UK and set up my own version, because there wasn't really a major player in the UK doing what Freshly have done successfully in the US, and a couple of other unicorn brands in the US.
Yeah, sure. So is it fair to say then that health is a key part of Tastily's mission? Producing good, healthy food.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think part of the mission is the health side and the convenience side as well. So about 40% of all people in the UK, or all meals in the UK, are eaten alone, which is
right.
Which is quite a depressing stat. And a lot of services are designed for multi-meal eating. So recipe boxes, it's sort of a minimum of two portions that you have to cook. If you go into the shops, it's normally you're buying enough vegetables for 4 or whatever it is in the multi-packs. So we're trying to cater for people who are eating alone, not necessarily all single people, but everyone has different shift patterns. The way that working from home has changed, and people's work lunches, shift structures, etc. So we're trying to cover the convenience side of things of single portion, ready-to-eat meals that just take that hassle away of cooking and washing up, but then also making sure that they are great tasting and healthy, because health is a big thing. I wouldn't have set the company up if it wasn't for health. I think I often say that I'm an obese person in a semi-healthy body at the moment because of Tastily, and I think actually quite a few people are probably in a similar position, because food has a big impact on a lot of people's lives.
Yeah, so it's a health thing, and it's also the time that people have less time to prepare healthy food, and this is where Tastily steps in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I guess that sort of ties into why now? Why is this Tastily's time? Is it because the world is everyone is so busy, and there is a gap in the market that you've seen from your time abroad?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of factors. I mean, the world has just completely changed in the last 6 months, even, which has probably changed my answer from what I would have said early this year. There's definitely, in the UK market, generally follows the trends in the US. So if you're a betting man, you would assume that if something is kicked off in the US, most likely it will in the UK. So that's quite an easy answer for it. But I think in terms of what's happened over the last 9 months and the change in consumer spending, the shift in food prices, there's a lot going on in this industry. And I think so our meals come in at sort of around £6.50 to £7.50 a serving. So we're not competing with supermarket ready meal prices at sort of £2.50 to £4, but those prices are definitely going to change over the next sort of 12 months. But we're actually a more affordable option for those kind of meals that are sort of a treat, but also just are the convenient ones. So if you're used to ordering on Deliveroo, or you're used to ordering on Just Eat or a takeaway option, or you're grabbing sort of a hot food on the way home, you're spending £10 to £15 minimum on as a single portion. So I think different areas within this space have opened up different opportunities. So I think, the time is an interesting one, but this part of the market moving more towards convenience, more towards quick grabbing quick food that's healthy, that's good for you, that doesn't get in the way of your different shift structures, working structures, and people more likely to be eating alone as well, which is also the case.
Yeah, no, sure. And you mentioned supermarkets. Is it fair to say then that your competition isn't just other food delivery companies? It's supermarkets. It's people, pre-prepared food that you can buy at your local convenience store, as well as the more natural competitors. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, the competitive landscape in this space it can be as wide as you want it to be. Really, I think because food is such a big industry. So I would say that the sort of direct competitors that we have, obviously you have recipe boxes, which is a huge industry. The HelloFreshes, the Gustos, the Mindful Chefs. So probably 1 million active customers in the UK at the moment. That's a huge space, but that's more or less just delivering your groceries to your house in a box that are pre-portioned. So it's not the same as sort of a pre-made, ready-to-eat kind of food. Then in the space you have sort of more the fitness food side of things, which is much more focused on health, the health aspect. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack, replacing all of your meals, quite high AOVs, and it sort of limits who you can go after in terms of the market. Then there is the supermarket meal side of things, fresh and frozen. So Charlie Bingham's have done a great job in that space, disrupting it somewhat with their packaging, with their quality of product, and they're also at a higher price as well than most supermarket ready meals. However, the issue I've found with supermarket ready meals is that it's a very different audience to what we're going after, because you're not going to go and buy 10, 14 ready meals a week from the supermarket, because you would get pretty bored after 2 weeks. Because even though you walk down a shelf in Sainsbury's or an aisle in Sainsbury's and Tesco's and think, God, there's 150 different meals here. They're often variants of the same dish, and the actual variety that you can get and the access to variety of healthy food, especially, and decent portion food isn't there if you're going to have this as a sustainable way of eating and a way of sort of replacing the majority of your meals. So it's a competitor to an extent. However, it's more for people who are looking for 1 or 2 meals a week as a quick grab and go option, and aren't focused on health as much and aren't looking for that variety and interest of food. I would say.
Yeah, I looked at your recently. It's a new website, isn't it? I looked at your new website and all the various menus. And how often do they change? You bring in new dishes, don't you? Quite regularly.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I would love to change it even more, but it's one of those ones where we've spoken to our customers a lot about how much variety they want and how much regularity they want as well. So we have 28 dishes on the menu. 14 of them stay the same. So we kind of view it as a bit of like a football Premier League. So we have the top 14 are in the kind of promotion spot. They're not going anywhere. unless they get knocked out by some of the dishes that come on each week. So there's every fortnight we have 4 new dishes that come on, which means that they get a run of about 8 to 12 weeks on the menu before they're rotated off. But then with the customers, you can rate the meals, and the feedback that we get and the response rate we get and the number of orders that we can see. We then have sort of an algorithm decides which meals deserve to be in the top 14, which meals should go off and be reworked and improved on. So yeah, they're always rotating, and it keeps the menu exciting, but also means people have their favorites that they keep ordering every week, and they deserve to stay on the menu.
Yeah, no, fair. And in terms of obstacles, what do you feel are your biggest obstacles, and how will you look to overcome them?
How long do you have? I think so recently the biggest obstacles I would say are margin improvement, or maintaining margins, really, because everything is getting more expensive. The food industry has just been hit so hard, and it's not just the ingredients cost, it's the packaging cost, it's delivery cost, it's cost of, we use CO2 for our gas flushing for the packaging. That's rocketed up. So yeah, being able to manage suppliers, manage margins, making sure we're not we're positively improving our business rather than negatively. I think that's a huge thing to stay on top of.
Which I guess is a problem faced by the industry as a whole, isn't it?
It is, yeah, it is, and it's been horrible to see the effect it's had on companies over the last sort of 6 months or so. That those businesses that can't raise finance, or that have just got the timing wrong potentially around this year. I know sort of 3 or 4, probably more companies in our space who were direct competitors who have unfortunately had to close their doors. So it's a tough time, and I speak to other founders in this space, and we kind of discuss and share that kind of information, and just sort of back each other up a little bit, because we're all in it together, even if we are in different businesses. It's not easy if you can't raise money, or if you can't be profitable, basically. Yeah. Which is what everyone's learning in the world at the moment.
Yeah, sure. And in terms of numbers, what are the key numbers for both the market that you're in, and as well as for Tastily as well?
In terms of the metrics that we go by? Yeah. So I mean, I probably didn't finish my question on my answer on that long list of what are the main obstacles and challenges. So one of the other ones is growth, and obviously that is the biggest driving force behind a successful business is growth and margins. Like if you don't get those two right, then you're not going to be a successful company. So that's one of the biggest challenges, and that's where a lot of the metrics come in as well, that you've really got to balance out what works. So for subscription D2C businesses, the cost of acquisition compared to your lifetime value is pretty much the most crucial metric that you can work on. So if you have a decent acquisition cost of bringing in customers through a blended mix of organic and paid channels, and your customers are sticky, and they're gonna order a lot of boxes over the next year, 2 years, 3 years, then for us it's a decent business model. But as soon as those numbers go out of sync, and if your retention drops and your quality of product drops, that reduces your LTV. And if your acquisition costs rocket, and Facebook decides that they're gonna do another iOS 14 nightmare, then that could cause issues with the cost of acquisition. So those are probably the two key ones. And then focusing on your contribution margins and obviously the bottom line numbers as well.
And I guess a key factor is scaling up the business. Obviously that will obviously help with margins. And how do you scale up Tastily?
Again, it changes. The theory behind it definitely changes a lot, and that there are a lot of options out there. And I could sort of reel off the 25 different sort of acquisition channels that you can approach in this space. But I think for us, direct to consumer is definitely the main channel. So finding a way to get our message to customers is crucial. It's we're still in a somewhat an emerging space. So the education piece around it is important as well, and being able to actually let the general public know what Tastily is about and what pre-made meals can be, and because there is a general conception around ready meals, and so if they're just unhealthy, full of fat, they're not very tasty, they're stodgy, and just all of those details, and we know that's not the case. So the education piece around it is tough, and if we can the channels that we can have the most interaction with customers without having to sell to them in 5 seconds on a quick advert that someone's flicking through on Instagram is more the direction we want to be going in. I think growth wise, paid social is definitely always going to be a big part of it. That's never going away for exposure, for getting the word out there, but actually converting customers. We're going down more of a direct sales route, and that's kind of a proven model that has worked in other companies within the D2C space. So that's face-to-face sales, tele sales, actually being able to interact and speak with customers and educate them on what we're about and what this industry is about, and hopefully make sure they're better quality customers as well through that knowledge.
Sure. And is there an exit strategy for Tastily? And if so, what sort of time frame?
Yeah, I think every founder has that thought and wants to try and plan out an exit strategy from the get go. There definitely is. We're in an industry that has a lot of eyes on it, from a lot of players who are waiting to see who can take it by the horns and who can smash it and who can be a justifiable sort of acquisition target. So I've spoken to a lot of VCs and spoken to a lot of investors, and there's a lot of sort of in a couple of years it'll be interesting to see where you're at, but because no one really in this space has got to the same kind of level as what a HelloFresh or a Gusto have done in the recipe box side of things, and that's because it's still early and there's a lot
Sure.
of years to go for it. But we recently secured investment from Samworth Brothers, or from an incubator within Samworth Brothers, and they are leading our seed round. And they manufacture basically a lot of the ready meals within supermarkets, and they own a few other brands as well across Ginsters, Soreen, and others. And they're a great business. I've had lucky enough to sort of interact with a lot of the senior team and the chairman, and it's a really sort of family oriented business, and they have great values, but also they're a pretty serious player in the space, and they're savvy and are ahead of the industry, I would say. So they have led our round, and we are a potential target for them in a few years' time if we can get to the right growth levels, and operationally there could be some synergies there. So that's something that we're excited by, and I've had conversations with some of the recipe box companies as well, who have expressed interest in this space. So there's eyes on it, but it's by nowhere near done, and there's a lot of hard work and a lot of luck still to go to get to that point, but at least there's conversations happening.
Yeah, no, that all sounds great. And finally, a question we ask all participants in this podcast series is what's Tastily's secret sauce? What's your magic ingredient?
What's our magic ingredient? I mean, to get to the point that we've got to, and with myself being sort of first-time founder, and with a lot of our team not having experience within the kind of the senior within the startup world, I think being able to build the right advisory board and getting not just like not an official board, but getting the right advice from people, and not being afraid to reach out to as many people as possible to be able to pick their brains and learn from it. I think that has helped a lot get us to this point. And
so it's your brain pool.
Yeah, I think so, because I think we all of the team who've been there since the beginning, and most of us just started off washing dishes and then have got into senior positions in the company. I think we all accept that we all have a lot of learning to do, and being able to build people around you who can actually teach you that, and you can trust, and you can take that information and then move on with it. I think that's super crucial. We're now in a position, luckily, where we can hire people who actually know what they're doing, which is a nice change, and I think that's a good little switch when you get to in a startup. So we've just hired a COO who joined us 3 or 4 months ago, who was the COO at All Plants, and has now joined us, which is great to have that kind of industry experience and knowledge. But yeah, I think surrounding yourselves with people who know what they're talking about and not being afraid to reach out to them, whether it be advisors or investors, is pretty crucial. And I think, raising money as well is the secret sauce, because if you can't raise money in this environment, and especially if you're a first time founder, or you're new to the game, you're going to make more mistakes. You're going to burn more money unless you've just struck it lucky. So if you can't raise money, you're probably not going to survive.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Will, thank you so much for sparing the time to join us today. We'll definitely be keeping an eagle eye on your progress and on Tastyly's progress in the future, and hopefully have you back here soon.
No worries. It was great to chat, and I look forward to speak to you soon.
Cheers. Thanks very much, Will.
Thank you. Bye-bye.